Today we're going to be talking about indentured servitude and slavery. As you guys can see, I don't have my voice right now, so bear with me. So, unlike New England and most of the middle colonies, the southern colonies had large plantations that required a large labor force. The growth of a plantation-based agricultural economy in the hot, humid coastal lowlands of the southern economies required a cheap source of labor on a large scale. So remember, the South had plantations, the large farms. Somebody needed to farm these things. And this led to all American colonies adopting African slavery as their primary non-free labor system. And when we say non-free, we mean the people themselves were not free. They were slaves. They were not able to go. So early on, some labor needs, especially in Virginia, were met by indentured servants. So indentured servants is much different than slavery. These poor persons from England, Scotland, or Ireland agreed to work on plantations for a period of time, usually 4 to 7 years, in return for their passage, which is the boat ride from Europe, or relief from debts. The boat ride to the New World was far too expensive for most people to afford, so this was the only way poor Europeans can get to the New World. And indentured servants were free to leave the plantation after they worked off their debt. So remember, they weren't slaves. After 4 to 7 years, they were free to leave. So now we're going to talk about slavery. And eventually, most plantation labor needs were satisfied by the forcible importation of Africans. So we say forcible because they were kidnapped. They didn't have a choice. They were sent to the Americas from Africa. So Africans were kidnapped in Africa, brought on a boat to the United States, where they were sold to owners. There were some Africans who worked as indentured servants, earning their freedom and living as free citizens during colonial time. However, most Africans were brought over as slaves. So very few Africans were indentured servants, but some were. And if Africans had children, their children automatically became slaves and were usually sold to another plantation. Over time, large numbers of enslaved Africans were forcibly brought to the colonies via the Middle Passage. Remember, the Middle Passage was kind of that triangle that went from Europe to Africa to the Americas, back to Europe, Africa, Americas. And unlike indentured servants, African slaves had no rights and would never gain their freedom. They were also subject to very harsh punishments. So, remember, indentured servants would get their freedom after 4 to 7 years, but for slaves, they never had freedom their whole entire life. They were slaves. So the development of a slavery-based agricultural economy in the southern colonies eventually led to conflict between the North and South in the American Civil War. So this is much later down the road, but slavery played a huge role in the American Civil War, which in the 1860s was where the northern United States fought with the southern United States, and it was over slavery, and still has implications today. The name of our school is named after somebody from the Civil War, and there was a lot of controversy surrounding it, and they're changing the name because of that. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.